Hey guys, Pete Moriarty here, and I'm excited to be here with you. Today I'm sharing my journey of going remote, how I took a company that was 5 years old at the time, multiple millions in revenue, and transitioned it from office work to a full remote team. Pretty crazy process, and there were certainly some challenges along the way. I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot, and over the next 8 weeks, we are actually running an 8-week webinar series, which is from office to remote. It's called the Remote Work Playbook, and it's all for companies that want to switch from being a office-based business to being a remote business. Now, it doesn't mean you have to cancel your office lease, but in the current times we are in, it's very important to embrace remote work and do it well. You need to know, how do you manage your culture? How do you manage your team? How do you make sure things actually still get done? How do you make sure that your team members are communicating and collaborating and working with their customers? We've been there, done that over the last 5 years, and I want to share everything. But I'm going to give you a quick snapshot this morning and kind of share with you how that process was for me. So before I get into the meat and potatoes of our journey, I want to share something with you, and that is the remote working scale. And this is something that I was shared from a company called Buffer, and Buffer are it's like a social media management app, but they're a full remote company, and they're one of the first businesses to kind of start blogging about it and sharing it widely. And the remote working scale is a really easy way to kind of show what are the different stages of a company transitioning to remote work. You can see here all the way on the left, you've got a completely office-based business. Everyone comes into the one place to get their work done. You then have office-based, but like work from home sometimes. And honestly, most companies don't get past step 2. That's basically it. Even most corporate businesses in Australia now do not get past step number 2. But there's a whole nother world of businesses that are running in step 3, step 4, and step 5, and that's what I want to talk a little bit more about. So step number 3 is different team members in different time zones, right? And this is typically thought about only as being accessible to multinationals or large businesses that have really broken through that small business stage, but it is available for small business owners. Now, for anyone who's started hiring offshore resources, maybe in the Philippines, it's really popular, then this may be your first step into having international team members, and that's kind of like step 3, starting. Then you have number 4, remote teams in many time zones, and so that's an actual real distributed team. And they're the kind of businesses that are, opening up for 24-hour support, which we are on the journey of. They're businesses that maybe from the ground up have decided we are not going to restrict ourselves to talent in just one place. We're going to open ourselves up to hiring from wherever. That's pretty cool. And then step number 5 here you can see is a completely distributed team with nomads. And what that means is there's no offices included, and people not only are working internationally, but they are also traveling. And that's black belt level. That's like totally pro. So our aim has always been in the work that we do with our customers to help you move one step to the right. We're not trying to get you to level 5. We're just trying to help you move one step to the right. Now, our core business is implementing a product called G Suite. Well, that's the most popular product that we sell, and that helps businesses move from traditional infrastructure like servers, even people using Dropbox or consumer Gmail accounts for their business file storage, and helping them move into a collaborative platform which allows them to get work done. And it doesn't mean that you have to be nomads traveling the world running the business completely remotely. What G Suite allows you to do is get work done from any device, and we say at any time. Hopefully you've got good boundaries around when you do actually work. But from any device at any time means that you have the flexibility to work where and when you want to. Now, for many businesses, when they work with us, they're starting at level 1. They're all the way on the left. They're in an office. They're sometimes driving to the office to get work done. They may have like a VPN or remote desktop set up, but it's usually a pretty crap experience because internet connections are not always great, and Microsoft Remote Desktop is pretty terrible. And we are moving them into that collaborative workspace of G Suite and Google Cloud, and that allows them to actually seamlessly get work done. And I'm talking video calls on Hangouts, chat using Hangouts Chat, which is a little bit like Slack. Google Drive is way better than Dropbox. It's got heaps more business features. And then, of course, Gmail has all the power of Google's amazing AI, search algorithms, and everything else in an inbox that will never slow down, never crash the search, and never get full. You get unlimited storage if you're on the business plan on G Suite. And so what that does is that enables businesses to go along this journey. Now, once we've kind of implemented G Suite, then there's other products like cloud-based phone system, cloud-based cloud-based CRM system, cloud-based task management, cloud-based workflow automation. All of those things kind of like get peppered in there. But the base foundational level is that you get set up on G Suite, and we help you manage that migration process. Now, how do you manage your team actually going along this remote work scale? How do you take them along that journey? That is a people journey. It's a change management journey. And I've got another framework on change management, which I will share in another video on leading and managing effective change with your team. But you need to learn, and you need to learn yourself first, and then take your team on that journey of change in transitioning from a local, everyone's in the same place type setup to being able to work remotely or working differently. Now, for some people, they've said up until recently, hey, you know what, that's fine. I'm really comfortable going to the office. I like having, separation between home and the office, and that works for me. And I really want my staff to be in the office so either customers can meet with us or I can see what they're doing, or we feel more collaborative when we're in the office. However, current times have changed and many are being forced now to work at home, which is great for us because we're in a great position to actually educate, but it's quite a challenge, and we've really heard that challenge from our customers, that right now it's a bit of a shock to the system. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So my point with sharing the remote working scale for you is just try and move one step to the right. That's all you need to do. Don't try and get to step 5. You don't need to. Just try and move one step to the right, or you might have to go 2 steps because everyone's going to be working at home. Okay, cool. So I want to move on, and I want to talk about our remote business journey and how we kind of went from being in an office to completely switching over to being remote. And so we had an office in North Sydney. We had 5 staff in that office. Before that, we had an office in Crow's Nest, and I think we had 6 or 7 people there. And the business had kind of gone up and down. And being a service business, for anyone who's in a service business, you would know there's this constant challenge of making sure you've got enough work coming in for the consulting dollars to pay for all of your labor, because the biggest cost is the labor, and then second biggest cost is the office. And there's a general rule, I think it comes from accountants, that you want to have each full-time staff member generating about 3 times their revenue, 3 times their salary in revenue, so they can pay for themselves. So a third of that revenue goes to their salary, a third of the revenue goes to outgoings, and a third of the revenue goes to profit, right? But that's hard to see in a growing and scaling business, to see that profit. I shared a post recently on my Facebook page and LinkedIn of how I was in $350,000 of debt by the time I was 24, and how I kind of navigated that journey. Now, we were in this up and down, this constant challenge of making sure we had enough dollars coming in to pay for the labor for our service business. And around that time, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I read the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And he talked about getting a VA in the Philippines, someone who can help you get some of your stuff done, but most importantly, have a cheaper cost of labor for the business. And I was like, that's interesting. Let me see if I can get that done. And initially I was really scared because I thought, well, what if my customers find out? At the time, Telstra call centers had a really bad reputation of outsourcing to the Philippines. And I think there was a lot of real angst from Australian customers and Australian business owners and just Australians in general with offshore call centers and what that meant. And so that was challenging for me to get through on a mindset level of, if I start hiring in the Philippines, what does that mean for my brand? What does that mean for my business? What does that mean for my customer experience? And how will that change us as a company? So we started, the first step of the journey was just hiring back office positions, so non-customer facing. So data processing, data entry, managing other things that I deemed, well, this is safe. And what I found over time was our international team members were coming from quite prestigious roles. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Some of our staff were ex-Microsoft. Some of our staff were Google. Some of our staff were ex-Apple. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And what I learned was the staff that had worked through the BPOs into these larger companies had actually had amazing training, were extremely well qualified, and were excellent workers. And I was like, wow, bloody hell, that's really awesome. And it really broke down my perception that someone overseas, someone who's not Australian, can actually be a great worker. And I guess at the time I had subscribed to the collective thought that someone who was of a different culture or born in a different country was different in their ability to work. Now, There are long-standing differences in culture, that's a reality, and language and accent and those kind of things. However, it's no different to working with someone from the United States or another country that speaks a different, a closer level of English to us with maybe like a different accent twang. I think what was interesting at the time is what I discovered was how I saw our country versus developing countries and what my perception was there of working with different people. And so as that perception slowly over time broke down and our team excelled more and more and more, I allowed myself to say, okay, well, let's put some of my team in customer facing positions and see how this goes. And what I found, not so much from a customer perspective, because customers, I guess, didn't really know the difference. That was pretty cool. We did most of our work delivered to customers remotely at the time. We were doing remote support and all those kind of things. But what I found was really interesting, on a performance perspective, our international team members were performing better than local staff. And I went, wow, holy crap, that's a big one. Someone who has a dramatically different economic cost to the business is actually outperforming staff that I have locally. And that was the moment that made me go, wow, okay, I've changed my perspective here and things need to be done differently. Now, that created a problem. And that problem was that I can't deliver to my customers on site or in person. And we were an IT support business. A number of our customers were in Sydney, but over time we'd been bringing on more and more customers across kind of the east coast of Australia, so in Brisbane and in Melbourne. And we were starting to modify our pricing and our services for the removal of the cost of going on site to customers. So we were really starting to tweak the business model. But we still kind of had, in a way, a ball and chain of our Sydney-based customers who expected us to come on site when something went wrong. And sometimes that was me, sometimes that was other staff, sometimes we even hired contractors out to do that. But there was a bit of a problem with the business model because I had ambitions to grow a successful business, and we weren't going to be able to be successful if we had kept limiting ourselves to doing that on-site work, because what I found was that we would have to open offices in every city that we wanted to operate in. And we had even one or two customers who'd come to us from the United States because they knew our expertise with G Suite, and people were finding us on Google, hearing about our reputation. And what I had found was that we had to shift the business model to be more of a remote company. And that was a big shift because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue from doing that on-site kind of managed service support. So what I found was that I had to make a really tough decision. And that decision was, if I want to grow this company in the way that I want to grow it, I'm going to have to change what I'm delivering to my customers. I'm going to have to bite the bullet. And I did that. I decided to make that choice, and I cut hundreds of thousands of dollars in recurring revenue. I called every one of our customers and I said, hi, how are you going? I need to let you know about some changes in the service that we're offering to you. We're no longer going to charge you $1,000 a month for our IT support. We're only going to charge you $300 a month. And now we're going to stop coming on site. So we're going to still be able to deliver about 90% of what we could deliver before, but your cost is going to be a third of what it was previously. And you can guess, all of our customers said, fuck yeah. That sounds great, Pete. Everyone went for it, and we managed to retain all of those customers, which was really great. And so what we then found was I could accelerate the growth of the business, and particularly accelerate the remote team aspect of the business, because now we didn't have that restriction of having to hire in one place. Now, here's the big problem in having to hire in one place. You limit your talent to a half an hour or a 1 hour commute radius of your office. That's ridiculous. If you think about how large your country is, how large the world is, how many people are in other countries outside of, just if we're talking about Australia, a tiny little country with 20 odd million people, think of what you're restricting yourself to if you're just putting a circle around your physical office and only hiring talent around there. That's just absolutely nuts. And so when you open yourself to working with remote team members, and I'm talking about full-time, completely remote team members, not even coming to your office, your talent pool opens way up. And that was one of the biggest things for us is we were able to access really, really great talent. As I said, ex-Microsoft staff, ex-Google staff, corporate staff in Emerson Electric, like, high-profile executives from different businesses, and bring them into our business. Now, obviously, there's some arbitrage included here. We started hiring in the Philippines. That worked really well for us because of the cost base, and it allowed us to really rapidly grow and scale our team. We went from 5 people in that office in Sydney right up to now we have more than 35 staff, and we have a blossoming team. It's all going really well. And this video is not about team hire in the Philippines. That's not the message of this video. The message of this video is to open yourself up to remote working. And, if you look at this scale, it's moving from being office-based to, over time, a more distributed team and a more distributed setup. So we'd made that change, and we then had to learn how to operate as a remote company. And that's the things that I'm going to be covering in our 8-week series, Remote Work Playbook. It's all about how do you operate as a remote company. For many of you, you may have had some flexible work and you've been at like step 2 on the scale of, having a bit of work from home type stuff. That's not how you run a company if you've got everyone working from home 95% of the time. And so we're going to show you how to do all of that in our Remote Work Playbook. If you're interested in that, just drop me a message in a PM straight to this page, and I can get you hooked up with some details there. But we're releasing that for our Concierge members, and you don't even have to be on G Suite to join Concierge. In this special time, we'll let you join even if you're not on G Suite. But that's going to be how you learn how to actually run a remote team from a technology process standpoint, from a people standpoint, from managing culture, from setting up all the right tools, from how do you manage the change management of actually bringing your team across, and everything in between to make that work. Now, if you're interested in some resources for yourself to get started on this remote work journey, there's 2 resources that I want to share with you. Number one is actually this one here, which is the Buffer blog. And so the Buffer blog is really, really awesome. They've got heaps of stuff on remote work because these guys have been doing remote work for a long time. And so if you head along, you can even just search for this post, the Remote Work Scale. And you'll find this post, but I've dropped a link actually just down below in the comments already. And then you can see here they've got a whole category on remote work, and they've got heaps of blogs there. So go ahead and check those out. The next one is a book recommendation, and that book is called Remote: Office Not Required. And that book, let me go ahead and I'll bring up the link for you here, guys. Remote Office Not Required. And this is by the guys at Basecamp. Remote. Let's actually bring up the correct link here. All right, cool. So this book is written by the guys who created Basecamp, which is a remote work collaboration app similar to Asana. We actually recommend Asana over Basecamp, but this book is absolutely fantastic. And this talks about how to actually manage a team remotely, exactly what you need to do, exactly how to make it work, the real basics. We use this as an inspiration. I read this book about 5 years ago, and then we took all the strategies from the book and we battle tested them. Some of them worked, some of them we've tweaked and kind of made our own. And so that's what we're going to be sharing in the Remote Work Playbook, which is our lessons from 5 years of running a multi-million-dollar company completely remotely. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them below. The question that's on most people's mind, and when I share our story of how we changed and how we grew, most people actually ask, well, what happened to your Australian staff? Because now we only have myself and one other staff person in Australia. And what we found was that over time, there was natural attrition in our office in Sydney. Bit by bit, those staff members happened to move on. And for a long time, we've had a strategy of hiring exclusively in the Philippines. And what that's allowed us to do is grow and scale our business and serve more customers in a better way by actually growing out that team more efficiently. We haven't so far had a need for more team members here. And so you may find as you embark along this journey, I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, but you may find some really big shifts in how you think about hiring, how you think about the help that you bring on board into the business. I welcome you sharing what that journey is like. And we're here, of course, to support you. So that's it for the content. I wanted to let you know a little bit about IT Genius and what we do. So if you haven't worked with us yet, or you're curious about what we do, we help enable businesses to work remotely and help enable teams to get their work done productively no matter where they are, whether they're at home, whether they're on the go, whether you're on the couch with your phone, wherever you are, we want to help you do productive work and help you, if you're a business owner, build a productive, scaled team. Now, we technically focus on technology. We do a little bit about the HR and the other bits and pieces, but most of our focus is on technology. We take care of automation. We take care of your collaboration platform, like what do you do for email, file storage, connecting with each other, video calls, and then we help all your apps talk to each other. So we'll help with automations. We'll help with building dashboards if you want to visualize your business data from zero, or have KPI leaderboards and those kind of things. We can help you visualize that kind of stuff. Think about us as a new age technology IT consultancy, specifically for businesses who are interested in working remotely and having more flexibility in how they work. We're very, very big on the Google platform. We've got a cloud-based phone system, cloud-based CRM system that we recommend, and all of these integrate and they all talk to each other. And that's a big part of making sure that your operations run smoothly, is that you don't have double handling of information. So if you're interested in chatting, head along to itgenius.com, or you can drop me a PM and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. I've got some links below if you want to join a group with other business owners who are on their remote journey. Head along to Remote Revolution. There's a link in here. Join our group. It's a free open group, and we talk specifically about building and scaling remote teams. If you're interested in, if you're already on G Suite and you want more product-focused discussion around G Suite, there's a link to our G Suite community group there as well. Over 1,000 business owners in there, and we share tips and tricks and help each other out with everything in the Google world. So even if you're just curious about G Suite, go ahead and jump into that group. We've got nothing to hide, and hear from thousands of business owners that are already on the Google platform. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap up here, guys. Thanks so much for joining, and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.